And streaming on the Tide 100.9 HD2 Northport. W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And that, I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take the biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national champion Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show also in broadcast on the Martin Houston Radio Network. Powered by MaX Sports. Glad to have you with us on this beautiful morning. Glad you're up and Adam, and want to invite you to get in on the conversation. Sure, we got a lot to talk about today, and we'll get to that, talking about Bama hoops. Bama wins the SEC championship, regular season SEC champion, only the third time in the last 30 years, and 2 of those in the last 3. So is Nate Oates quickly ascending to the top of the Alabama coaching tree as the GOAT of Alabama basketball. We'll talk about that. You're welcome to get in on that conversation. We'll have a little would you rather and a little true false on today, all thrown in together since we had some would you rather questions as a carryover from yesterday. But we're going to talk hoops. Bama wins the SEC regular season championship in an instant classic, from what I heard. All of you know that yesterday I asked that no one send me any text or any messages or anything because I was going to be at church. And I made it almost the whole night without getting any text. I got one that made me kind of have a little bit of peace as I was watching the game, that Alabama did pull it out. However, you guys will love this, X, Aiton, because it went into overtime. My DVR did not record past the typical time the game would end. So, man, I went through all of that, avoided everybody talking to me, ran away from everybody at church, wouldn't let Simeon tell me about it, avoided him, and guess where it stopped recording? Right in the middle of the scuttle. I almost cried, man. so, so let me start the show off by once again reminding you that this is a day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today, man. It's just, is that not crazy? Uh, uh, and of course, now I'm going to get all this advice on what to do after the fact. CJ Watson said, I always add 30 minutes to DVR setting in case of overtime. It would not have mattered in this case. But man, I was like, yeah, okay. Now what I did, I'm going to tell you what I did. I didn't have it. I took the first half and kind of played fast forward, right? Not real fast. It was fast enough that it got me through it pretty quick. And then in the commercials, man, I zoomed through and I could see the score changing and could see the shots a little bit. Then I get to halftime, boom, I'm watching the game. Okay. Auburn is on. Auburn's doing their thing. Auburn is spanking our butts. And then we get hot. I'm like, okay. And then boom, Quinterly makes a great defensive play. After Alabama was on a 9-point run at that point, slams the ball off of the Auburn player, and then the scuttle starts. And it keeps going. And it's like the Energizer Bunny, and it keeps going. And Simeon said, Dad, I think you're about to run out of time. I said, what do you mean? He said, I don't think it recorded to the end of the game. I said, don't you tell me that. And you look up and it was like an hour and whatever. And the minutes on the ticker and the minutes of the total recording were closely aligning. And literally, while they're at the table, it goes off. So I go to YouTube, man. I go to YouTube trying to find it. In the meantime, I think Virgil thinks, well, Martin's had time to watch the game. So he sends me a thing and says, hey, I'm going to have to eat crow tomorrow. Virgil Williams was a regular part of the show. I'm going to have to eat crow on the show tomorrow. And then I finally go, oh, what does that mean? And he said, I'm going to have to eat crow. And I said, what does that mean? He said, regarding Quinterly. I said, okay. I said, at least that probably means we won. And then I find listen to how I caught how the game ended. Simeon finally, I couldn't find anything, nothing Alabama. And Simeon finally tells me that Alabama did win, but he didn't give me anything else. And so now I'm intrigued because I know players got thrown out and all this. So I'm searching YouTube and I go back and I find the Auburn radio broadcast on video. So, but anyway, give me your thoughts on the game, man. It was definitely a good one for us to come back because we went on a 16-0 run with about 5 minutes to go in the game. I think we closed out a 16-0 run. So
it was a game of runs, literally. Auburn pulls out to a big lead. Bama comes back. Auburn pulls away again right before halftime. And you're just like, man, what's going on? Then Alabama comes out in that second half, and you're talking about on fire. 4 for 5, tie the ball game up, 43-42. Then next thing you know, it's 62-46. And you're just like, what is going on? And then Bama goes on their run again. And then you're just like, man, can Bama keep it going down the stretch? You know, it's a lot of emotion, a lot of energy. Do they have enough in the tank after that big run? And, you know, they're able to get it down, tied at the end of regulation, going to overtime. And Bama was just able to pull away with it. I mean, great performance from JQ. A lot of people have been on him all year, the mistakes. But for him to go out his final game at Coleman Coliseum, well, we perceive to be his final game at Coleman. But just a great performance. Miller was off a little bit, and you saw JQ step up and make some big shots. You saw Sears make some big shots. Now Miller did great on the defensive end, a couple blocks, couple momentum changers on that end.
I saw really great
effort.
I saw one of his steals, like a mid-air steal. Like,
oh man, he was great on the defensive end last night.
But once again, X, that shows you just how this team won last night when the best player in college basketball, Brandon Miller, has not necessarily a great game, but he was, let me see, 3 for 12 and from the regular line, and then 1 for 6. So overall, made like 4 shots, but then made 10 for 11. So clutch at the free throw line. Still the tied for leading scorer, second leading scorer behind Quinley, who had 24. But he found a way to help contribute and win. And what the big three showed up. Sears 17, Clowney 17, Miller 17. But back to my point, if Quinterly and Pringle, I believe that they will become the guys down. Even though Pringle didn't have a big game, I believe in moments and critical times they're going to be the glue, the key to this team being able to do some big things. But I am going to laugh once again. And I've said. Curtis Lewis said, "I told y'all about JQ." Hey, listen, I've always said if JQ handles the ball, he's awesome, and he is finally getting there because I think he let the game come to him, and he now recognizes if he just comes in and does his thing, he's good. Now he's had three consecutive good games in a row. And I started saying, if this guy keeps trending, man, Alabama can do some special things. And I'm gonna tell you who I'm gonna give a shout out to, X and Aiden, and that's Coach Oates, because I even talked to people who said, man, he loves him, he just keeps putting him out there, and he's not responding, he's not performing. And that goes to show you what coaches sometimes see that we don't. And they see it at practice, and sometimes it doesn't always translate, and we're judging the translation. And now it looks like that is going to be the case. So we'll keep a little basketball going on the other side. But I throw up a true-false question for you on that. And we may end up having to move this Would You Rather Wednesday conversation and some of this true-false even to tomorrow, because this basketball game was a big moment for Alabama hoops. But I do have one true-false for you. I want y'all to both think about this during the break. I want all the listeners to think about it. Was Bruce Pearl's press conference true or false? Either, whichever side you want, the funniest or the saddest press conference ever. There's quite a few responses to Bruce Pearl's press conference. I didn't get to see it live, but I was literally, if you missed the story, I DVR. I do not go back and watch anything. I don't go back and watch Alabama football games once they're over. Okay, ever. I don't go back. I've seen the national championship game from '92 like twice. Okay, that's how I don't go back and watch something that's already been settled. I just don't do it. But I was going to try that last night, in the overtime, and the scuttle all messed me up. Ended at the scuttle. Didn't get to see the end of the game. I'm laying in the bed, and ESPN is on, and I hear Bruce. It's the whiniest. I'm like, what in the world? And Blind Squirrel has already hit it and gave Curtis Lewis a shout out. Said we all need to pack up and pool our money together and send a truckload of cheese down to Auburn, because that may be the saddest whine I think I've ever heard. We'll talk about it on the other side, right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, authorities are still clearing a wreck on 2059 eastbound at exit 97. That's Lakeview. You could expect some delays. Everything else looks good. If you see conditions, give me a call. Here's the BJ Manager Special at Townsend Nissan. $5,000 off. Dealer list price on any new 2023 Armada. And finance rates as low as 1.9%. Townsend Nissan, your hometown dealer. I'm Captain Ray.
In a collision, easy decision. Make one call to one name. Mesrano, 206-6300.
No representation by the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
People who come to Cricket stay with Cricket, just like Christine.
I'm a director and a performer. Free phone from Cricket, and I've used it to live stream 73 of my shows on social media.
How do you like it?
It's fabulous!
Switch to Cricket and get a free Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Real customer paid for testimonial, limited time. Must bring your number to Cricket on a $60 a month first month service charge and tax to its sale. Phone streams video and SD. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. Fees, terms, and other restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
Boot Barn and Wrangler, born for the West. Both created from an unrelenting commitment to the cowboy lifestyle. Boot Barn has proudly offered Wrangler denim since 1978. Throughout the decades, we've supported the Western community far and wide, with roots unshaken. At Boot Barn, every Wrangler piece represents a proud Western legacy. Boot Barn. Keep West.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy with a few passing showers and thunderstorms today and tonight. The high today 77, tonight's low 64. Tomorrow a very windy day. Storms during the morning. Those storms could be severe. Clearing by afternoon. The high 76. I'm James Spann of the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 63 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Softmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. The Alabama One hotline is open for business, 205-342-9904. Love to get your thoughts, your comments into the conversation regarding Quinterly. Quinterly, there's been people on Quinterly all season. And like it, love it, or hate it, they've had reason to be on Quinterly because Quinterly has been a turnover machine. But there was always one word that I used when it came to Quinterly. If he reduces the turnovers, the guy is an absolute difference maker. And if is a powerful word. And last night, he totally empowered that word if, because he was 24 and 24 points, 0 turnovers. If you go back for a year and not quite a half, but last year we never saw Quinterly get back to where he finished his first year here, the way he played in his first full season of playing here. Aiden, did you think you saw Quinterly last year, or X, did you see Quinterly last year play like he did the year before when Alabama won SEC champs?
No, I don't think I saw that last year at all. I think maybe we were starting to get there, towards the end of the regular season and in the NCAA tournament, and then he goes and tears his ACL in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And
right,
I mean, that's just how that goes sometimes. But no, we didn't get to see it Last night, I wanted people to go check that man for road rash for playing street ball in Baltimore or something. He looked like he was playing some Mid-Atlantic basketball, and that's his bread and butter.
Right. And so we didn't see it for a year. And then X, we hadn't seen it consistently this year. We've seen him force and turn it over. And then he have a great game. And then he turn a great game. But it looks like
he was to me, he was pressing coming back. You know, fifth year, you're a guy that was a 5-star that most people think, oh, you'll be around here a couple years. Next thing you know, you're here for year 5. And I think he was pressing a lot. And you could tell when he would just be comfortable and let the game come to him. But then the next game, like you said, he would press and you'd be like, oh, wait, slow down. And then but the last few games, he's been putting it together. He's been playing great. And last night, he stepped up in a way that if he doesn't play like he played last night, Alabama gets blown out.
Yeah. And the question becomes this. Is that, I mean, but maybe that's what he needs. When has he been his best? When has he been his best? When the pressure's been on? Yeah, right? I mean, you go back to how he played in the SEC tournament and down the stretch his 2 years ago. You look at how he was beginning to even play last year, and now look at it. And it's so to me, his best 2 games have been his last 2 games. Right? And I'm going to tell you what I think Nate Oates saw. Nate Oates saw a guy who was leading even when he wasn't having his best ball, and he stuck with him. And now I see him that leadership taking over. Not what we're seeing on the court on Saturday or Wednesday night, guys. I didn't talk about it, but after the Brandon Miller thing happened last week, they said, man, the young guys were struggling, all but Brandon. The young guys, and when we saw that guys, where did you see that at X? You saw it at South Carolina. Young guys looked like they were just totally out of it. Like social media and the media coverage wiped them all out except for pretty much Brandon Miller from the young guys, right? Same thing you saw in the first half of Arkansas. Yeah. And I think JQ stepped up and took a vacuum and just he's filled it, and now he's back not just as a good guy on the team, but he's kind of taking that leadership role, bull by the horns. The heat's on, the pressure's on, and I think he's locked in. And we saw some of that 5-star the last 2 games. And I think Kevin Smith said it best. He wasn't completely healthy, and he was pressing. And sometimes mentally you can do things mentally that your body can do, but with that injury you hadn't got back there. And maybe that's why he was still turning the ball over at a higher clip than he has the last few games. And maybe his body has caught up with the mental side of his game being back. And if that's the case, guys, I'm telling you, this Alabama team they're going to be tough to deal with anyway. But if you get that JQ, and it don't even have to be that good of a JQ, because you're not going to have a lot of 3-12 Brandon Miller nights where he has 7 points in field goals and 10 free throws. You're not going to have that a lot, but you're going to have some Mark Sears 17 points, some Clowney 17 points, and some JQs in the 17, and then Brandon Miller in the 20s. It's whew. It's exciting to watch. Let's get to Alan X and let you respond to what he has to say here. Alan, you're in with the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. What's on your mind, sir?
And you're also not going to have our center get thrown out of the game and a dominant president in the middle. So he'll be back. So Bama's going to be somebody to reckon with in the tournament, I do believe. But did y'all see? Did I miss something when the game was over with? Did I not see Nate Oates like flap his arm like wings?
I missed it. I did. Hey, Curtis. I mean, Alan, you trying to be funny, right? You heard me tell you my story that
I heard that.
I didn't get to see anything after. I didn't get to listen. When my video went off, I'm about to cry this morning. I mean, I worked hard. I told people all day. Ryan Fowler was going to a basketball game. Ryan Fowler don't even go to basketball games. And I said, man, don't you text me. Don't you tip. I know you'll do it because you don't normally go to the game. Don't you do it. I did all that, fought all day. And so, no, I didn't see it. What happened? Tell me about it. Tell us all about it, Alan.
It looked like to me at the end of the game, he flapped his arm like wings. X, did you see that, X?
I did. I did.
I thought I was seeing things. I may be wrong, but I said, did he just do that? And then he shook hands with Bruce Pearl. But I said, well, he just may be, he may just say that he's glad the game was over, but it looked like he was flapping his arm like wings. I said, okay. And my wife made comment of it. I said, oh, wow. So I said, I thought I was the only one that saw that.
Hey, let me tell you what I did see. Let me tell you what I saw that I loved. Even though Alabama was getting beat, I don't know if I've ever seen that animated of a Nate Oates.
Me either. I think that Bruce Pearl brought that out of him because he saw Bruce Pearl getting animated. So he said, wait a minute now, what's going on over here? So, that brought some enthusiasm to him.
Yeah.
He was definitely on another level last night, and not in a bad way. Like, you could see the passion, the hunger to get that win, to wrap up the SEC championship last night.
Well, my last question to y'all is this. What do y'all read into Charlie Strong coming back?
Charlie Strong? Yeah. X?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I think it's interesting. I think it could be a big move. Not really sure what, like, his long-term plans are, but I mean, having a coach of his caliber on your staff and he's not even on the field is something to behold, and just because of the knowledge of the game that he has.
Well,
he's 62 years old. I'm saying he's not going to last too. He's looking somewhere to settle down at. I believe at 62. How many more head coaching jobs out there for him at a Power 5?
Here's the thing, Alan, and I have to do my research before. He excuse me. We want to make sure, and I'll double check it. But Ryan Fowler told me yesterday that the NCAA changed their rules about analysts. You know what that rule is? And now it makes even more sense, if this is true, why Saban did not give Kevin Steele a position. Supposedly, the analysts can help coach during the week now.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to verify that, but Ryan told me that at lunch, and I said, what? He said, yeah, and so I'll verify it. Keep listening. I'll verify it. But think about if that's the case. He now has he has Charlie Strong as an analyst. He has Derek Dooley as an analyst to help the young guy. Now, Derek Dooley has some of the style. We're going back to offense. He has some good principles and things like that. He may not be just as cool and as creative, but if that's the case, it's going to be a game changer. And I'll verify that, and we'll talk about it probably tomorrow. The beauty of it is some of these guys, I would love to see what Charlie Strong's, if he still has a buyout left, which I think he does. Y'all know what the buyout does, right, Alan?
It makes him be an analyst instead of a coach.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if ABC School owes them $2 million, Nick Saban gets to hire them for $35,000 or $50,000, and then the school has to pay them everything except for the $50,000.
Oh, okay.
So Nick Saban gets a $2 million coach for $50,000. Charlie Strong is not worried about it because he's still coaching. He's still getting the same money. He just gets a check from 2 different schools.
As long as he gets paid.
Right. And so I think it's a big deal, especially if we can confirm the analysts being able to coach. I don't think they can coach during the game technically, but I think they can coach during the week, and that is huge. I put air quotes in for everybody on the radio. Can't coach during the game. Yeah. Unless the NCAA got binoculars on everybody and filming everybody's sideline. What do you think happens when a guy comes off the field and I'm an analyst that works with that group all week?
I'm going to talk to him. He can't stop from talking to him.
I ain't going to coach him. I'm just going to talk to him. All right. We got to get the break, Alan. We got Hank South 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting coming up next. Guys, we encourage you to stay tuned for that conversation. We'll get with Hank, but we'll also keep this conversation going. We can keep on the hoop side. We can move over to football. Either way out there, there's some opportunities for us to keep the conversation rolling right here on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9.
This is a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update.
I'm Kim Rankin with your Tide Sports Update. The Alabama Crimson Tide men's basketball team defeated the Auburn Tigers 90-85 to clinch the SEC regular season title. Former Alabama staffer Charlie Strong is returning to the capstone to become an analyst.
This has been a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update. Run it again! For more info on these stories and more, download the Tide 100.9 app.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, authorities are still clearing a wreck on 2059 eastbound at exit 97. That's Lakeview. You could expect some delays. Everything else looks good. If you see conditions, give me a call. Here's the BJ Manager Special at Townsend Nissan. $5,000 off. Dealer list price on any new 2023 Armada. And finance rates as low as 1.9%. Townsend Nissan, your hometown dealer. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages. We start as low as $12, go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
Make plans to attend the DCH 100th Anniversary Music Festival, presented by Harrison Construction, Saturday, March 4th, 2 to 8 p.m. at the River District Park in downtown Tuscaloosa. Come enjoy the Powell Brothers, Adam Hood. This is a real small town. Cashback in the locals. Admission is free. The DCH 100th Anniversary Music Festival, March 4th, 2 p.m. at River District Park. The DCHsystem.com details.
Lace up those running shoes for the Visit Tuscaloosa Half Marathon and Publix 5K on Saturday, March 25th in Government Plaza. Register for the Publix 5K or Half Marathon before rates go up on February 28th at TuscaloosaHalf.com.
Still overpaying for a razor? In this economy? Gross. At Dollar Shave Club, you can get a top shelf shave at a regular shelf price. We've been hawking shaving products for years online, and we're excited to bring you the same great quality and low prices at a store near you. From high-quality stainless steel blades to super smooth shave creams, Dollar Shave Club's in the business of making your shave easier. Find Dollar Shave Club in the men's razor aisle. Getting your Dollar Shave Club razor wherever you want. Isn't that great?
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by MaX Sports. As we kick off the second half, we will be talking to Hank South of 247 Sports and Bama Online Recruiting as via the Alabama One hotline. How you doing this morning, Hank?
Hey, good morning, Xavier. I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. So it's been a lot of news going on over the last week. There's a big weekend in Atlanta at the Under Armour Combine, essentially. What were some of the big names that we saw there that are connected to Alabama, and how did they perform?
Yeah, there were a ton. It was a loaded camp in Carrollton, Georgia. This past Sunday, we had the opportunity to go there. Just to start off the top, both of Alabama's commitments that were unattended, Sterling Dixon, the linebacker linebacker edge prospect, he had a very strong day, MVP performance for his position group. And then Ryan Williams, the 2025 five-star receiver, he put on a showcase and was one of the top performers of the whole camp at wide receiver. So two very strong performances from the two Alabama commits that were there. Beyond that, there were some really notable guys that I think Bama's going to be heavily involved for. I think one of the most exciting guys the Bama fans need to take notice of is Cameron Coleman from Phoenix City Central High School. He's a four-star wide receiver. Got an offer about a month or so ago from the Alabama staff, but he is a really, really good prospect. He measured in just under 6'4", I think 185, ran a laser 4.4. Really big body kid, athletic, was one of the top offensive players at the camp as well. I think he's going to be a really big target for Alabama going forward at that wide receiver position. And then one thing, the state of Alabama is just really, really loaded at the linebacker position this class and really next. The linebacker, edge rusher position. Guys like Bradley Shaw, the four-star linebacker from Hoover, Alabama. He was at the camp last weekend. Said a lot of good things about Alabama. He's going to be in Tuscaloosa this weekend for Junior Day. Jordan Ross, the four-star edge rusher from Vestavia Hills, he was a guy at the camp. Another one that Bama offered recently that has been in very frequent contact with Alabama. He's also going to be at Junior Day this weekend, and so on and so on. There's some really talented 2025 kids that were at the camp. David Sanders, the number one overall player in the country for the 2025 class. He's an offensive tackle from Charlotte, North Carolina. He was on camp or at the camp. He's going to visit Bama later this spring, I believe, for A-Day. I think that's kind of his tentative plan. But he was at the Under Armour camp, and his dad that was with him was actually wearing an Alabama hat. So I don't know. Read anything into that? Could be something. I don't know. And then another five-star 2025 kid, Jared Smith, Spain Park. I think he's already ranked the number one edge rusher in the country, but he might contend for top one or two players in the nation just based off his physique. He's 6'6", 240, wears a size 18 shoe, just a huge kid, and had a really good.
This kid's a sophomore in high school right now.
What's that?
He's a sophomore in high school right now.
Yes, he's going to be a junior. Yep, sophomore, rising junior. So he's a big time prospect. I actually talked to his head coach at Spain Park on Monday or Tuesday, and he noted he didn't mean this by any sort of insult or anything, but he said Jared's not even good at football yet. He said when he gets he's still kind of a developmental kid, and he's gonna be big time. He has a really, really high ceiling. So that's always what you want to look for in recruits, guys that are still haven't even reached their potential. So so it was just a loaded camp. I could go on and on and on about all the kids that were there, 2024, 2025. a few younger kids, 2026, Julian Lewis, the quarterback that's going to probably be one of the top quarterbacks in the class. He was actually from Carrollton, Georgia, or he is from Carrollton, Georgia. He's going to visit Bama later this month. And then Trent Seaborn, the 2027 quarterback, who's still in middle school. He was the youngest prospect there, but he held his own at the quarterback position. He was throwing the ball really well. He was there as well. So loaded camp, as always, a lot of info coming out of it.
Awesome. And just real quick, Robert Baylor, the new coach, what area is he going to be recruiting for Alabama?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's going to, we're still going to have that settled. I think we're going to see a lot of his presence, probably in the state of Alabama, but also on the West Coast. Obviously he has West Coast ties. So I think we'll see him out there as well. Holman Wiggins also has been really big on the West Coast for Alabama. He also has ties to LA. So I think we'll see him out there. Obviously, each coach typically has some sort of region of the state. I think we'll see him there. But and I believe, I want to say the Panhandle and maybe Panhandle of Florida and then South Alabama area is probably an area he's going to take over. So, I'm curious to see, if he's on campus this weekend, his, how recruits react to him, how they like him, especially, and the other coaches, obviously Kevin Steele coming back, Tommy Reese. So this will be kind of the first opportunity that we'll see, a full recruiting weekend with the new staff set in place.
Nice. And we have Pat joining us on the Alabama One hotline. Pat, you're in with Hank South of 247 Sports and Bama Online Recruiting.
All right, guys. Hey, good morning. But just want
Good
to
morning.
talk a little bit about Javonte Waller out of Picayune, Mississippi, and some people say Picayune. But anyway, regardless of that, Hank, think about this guy. Is he really more of a outside linebacker that's not an edge rusher? What do you think about him? Hello?
Hey, guys, we lost Hank. We're working on getting him back right now.
All right.
Okay. I don't know exactly who you're talking about, Pat, but do you have anything else maybe that I can answer for you while we get Hank back?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to talk about that. Do y'all think Bruce Pearl
Hey, guys,
should
we got Hank back now.
Okay, we got him back. Good.
Okay.
Good.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, Hank, good morning again. Javonte Waller out of Picayune, Mississippi. Do you consider him more of an outside linebacker versus an edge rusher because he's really kind of small?
Yeah, I actually, that was another kid we talked to at the Under Armour camp on Sunday. He says he's being recruited as an inside linebacker by Alabama. So that's kind of where he's, that's been the conversation with him thus far. And he's going to be on campus this weekend as well.
All right, that he's got offers from everybody and the brother in the SEC and then some. So he must be
strong performance as well. Yeah.
Okay, so he looks legitimate as an inside linebacker. That's what I would think his position should be versus an edge unless he grows some.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And he's a really instinctive kid as well. Yeah, I'm going to be curious how that continues along. He was actually a guy that was close with Austin Armstrong, and then obviously Armstrong left to Florida, and so he's excited to talk to the new linebackers coach, and then he's been talking to Jake Long a lot as well, the off the field staffer.
Good deal. All right. Thanks for the information. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
You
have a good one too, Pat. Hey, we're joined by Hank South of 247 Sports and Bama Online Recruiting on the Alabama One hotline. Hank, we have some spring visits coming up. You mentioned David Sanders potentially being a guy that's going to be here for A-Day. I've seen a couple other guys mention visits. Do you have more of a list that everybody can know that who's on the radar, who's coming into town to take a look at Alabama?
Yeah, so it's going to start this weekend with Junior Day on Saturday. Pretty strong list here on Thursday. Looking at it, handful of five stars. Ryan Wingo, the 5-star wide receiver from St. Louis. Dylan Stewart, who's a really big visitor. He's a 5-star edge rusher from Washington D.C. I believe On3 just made him the number 1 overall player in the country per their ranking. So he's expected on campus. And then, like we just mentioned, a bunch of linebackers, in-state linebackers, Bradley Shaw, Jordan Ross, the edge rusher. We just talked about Jamonte Waller coming over from Mississippi. Then a big linebacker from Texas, Justin Williams. He announced his plans to visit this weekend as well. And then the kid coming all the way out from the West Coast is Jordan Lockhart, who's committed to Ole Miss. He's already visited a few times throughout his recruitment, but he'll be back on campus this weekend as well. So it's going to be, a big group this weekend. And then, as we move along in March, when spring practice starts and all that, kids are on spring break. That's when we kind of see, kids just kind of show up, a handful of kids every day, whether, it be one kid or, 5 notable kids. They kind of just come and visit campus as they can, as their schedules allow. So big visitors weekend this weekend. Usually the first day of spring practice, we see a pretty big group come in. Obviously, 8 days is going to be. So those are kind of the big, the weekends you can kind of mark down as big weekends, and then you kind of just like sprinkle in other kids throughout the month of March and April that kind of just show up on their spring breaks or when they're able to make it down.
Let me get in here. Quick question. You guys may have hit this, and if you did, I apologize and just skip on. But what did the Jaden Allen's decommit from Texas mean in terms of Alabama? The cornerback who has offers from Alabama, LSU, USC, and amongst others.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm going to be curious to see how hard Bama's pushing there. He visited for Junior Day at the end of January, and at the time, he didn't really seem very solid with Texas. He'd been committed to Texas for a long time, but he said he didn't really have. He was still committed to Texas, but he wasn't really sure what was happening at that point. He did say Bama was number 2 in his recruitment, so he decommits from Texas. Does that put Bama at number 1? He hasn't said that yet, but you would imagine. If Bama's pushing, that's probably the team to beat at this point in time. I think that's just the question at this point. How hard are they pushing? And we'll see. Nick Saban went to his high school at the end of January, right before the last week before coaches had to come off the road. So that certainly shows a level of interest. Obviously, the Lido High School is a program Bama's been to several times, whether it be for Jason McClellan or JoJo Earl. Those are guys. It's a big time program in the state of Texas. So we'll see what happens with Jaden Allen. I would imagine Bama's right there in that top group for him, and we'll see when he gets back on campus and how hard Bama's pressing there.
Hey, Hank, we had a question come in via social chat, and it's Blind Squirrel Sport, Hank, who is actually a Georgia fan. So I told him we're going to start banning him on Thursdays because he played his hand. He said he's going to actually tweet out this interview in a quote back to Kirby Smart. So he may be running intel, and so we may have to just ban him on. But he did ask if there's any update or further news on Deuce Robinson, the big tight end that last time you spoke to us about him, he was leaning baseball and or both, and I should say.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything happening there with Alabama. Like you just mentioned, I think baseball is probably the one thing that could sway things. But I think if he does end up at the college level, it's going to be Georgia, USC, or Texas at this point. Bama was in the mix. They had him on the official visit, but they got C.J. Dupree, the transfer from Maryland. They signed Ty Lockwood. So unless something changes, I don't envision anything happening with Bama and Deuce Robinson.
All right. X.
And to wrap things up, bouncing over to basketball, Chris Parker, the 4-star guard, is set to make his commitment tomorrow, and round 4 in Alabama is in the top 4 for him. Where is Alabama sitting with him?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's gone really quiet on him. He was a guy that, after the first signing day, he was the last 2023 recruit we were kind of keeping an eye on in terms of Bama making a push. In December, it looked like it was Bama Villanova. He was saying he wanted to make a decision by the end of December. Then came January, he wanted to make a decision by the end of January, and now he just comes out and announces the top 4 and a commitment date. So Bama's still recruiting him. like I said, it's gone really quiet. I'm really not ready to make a prediction on where he's going to end up, but definitely something we're watching ahead of tomorrow.
And
And Jesse McCullough for the 4-star forward in the 2024 class just put out a list. I know we talked about him a little bit last week. What was the feeling with him? Did you ever get in contact with him?
He still hasn't done an interview, but yeah, like you said, he put out that top 8 earlier this week. So he's still 2024, so he's got some time. I would imagine. He's very high on Alabama coming off that visit when he was in town for the Georgia game. So, like I said, we heard good things in terms of people around him on the trip. What they how they believe he was taking in the visit and his interaction with the coaches and players. So that's always a positive sign. Michigan State, Indiana, Ohio State are kind of the other schools in on him. That's obviously more. He's from Big Country, so they'll be a big picture, but the fact that he came down for an initial visit, I think is a good sign for Alabama and their push for him at this point in time.
And Hank, we actually have one more caller that is called in for you. John, you're joining Hank South of 247 Sports and Bama Online, recruiting on the Alabama One hotline.
Hey man, Hank, I day one member from BOL 24/7. Love what you and Charlie and all the guys put out on the day-to-day basis for us fans, man. But first off, man, what a win last night. Was wondering if you guys were there for that. And my recruiting question, I guess, is what, and I know it's all pure conjecture, which are, is questions that Coach Saban hates, but, what are 2 or 3 recruits for this class that you think that might have a chance to contribute in the fall in football, just kind of based off their skill set, what we need as a team, things like that. So I'll hang up and listen and, man, just enjoying my SC Championship coffee this morning. Roll Tide, guys.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you, man. Go ahead, Hank.
Thanks for that, John. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I wasn't there for the game. Charlie was, obviously, our team writer. And, unreal comeback. That was pretty intense, edge of the seat action. But, in terms of, next fall, the guys, I think, to contribute right away, I think that the guys are at the top of the rankings list. You start with Caleb Downs, that's going to be a spot Bama's going to need some guys to step up, and Caleb Downs, number 1 safety in the country, I think is an immediate impact Minka Fitzpatrick type talent that could come in and really have a strong freshman season. Caden Proctor, the 5-star offensive tackle. Just standing there. We saw him in San Antonio after he'd already signed with Alabama and his recruitment was over. he looked like he could start, for an NFL team. He is a massive kid, 6'7". I think he was about 340 something when he checked in. But a really strong week at San Antonio as well, and really strong high school career. So, I think if you're picking a couple guys, I think Caleb Downs, Caden Proctor are 2 that could really contribute early next year. He's not going to be a high school or a true freshman out of high school, but Malik Benson is also a guy from the junior college level I think could come in and can contribute right away at wide receiver as well. So those are 3 guys I'd pick, but I'm sure with the amount of guys that early enrolled and that are going through the spring with Alabama, we could see someone else pop up with all these guys getting this early experience in. I think it was 25 kids that enrolled early, so it's already getting a jump on their collegiate career. So it'll be interesting to see.
All right, Hank, we appreciate you checking in with us again this week. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. BamaOnline.com, and my handle is @HankSouth247.
All right, man. That's Hank South 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting, the best in the business, right there. And he joins us every Thursday. Always have your recruiting questions ready, and we'll work them into the conversation and find and keep you in the know. He brought up a couple of things that that we can definitely talk about as we get closer to spring. Only a couple weeks away from this edition, the 2023 edition of Alabama football getting started. Hard to believe. So it's time for us to start talking about who's going to be the top newcomers, who's going to be the apprentice of this class, man. Remember last year, Prentice stepped up in a big way, late enrollee, but quickly quickly found himself in the rotation. Can't wait to see this wide receiver group play, because you saw so many guys, so many guys that left. You're like, man, what's wrong? But you look back at what's left and then what Alabama's adding, and then you look at Nick Saban and the change X that he made, getting a nice tight end transfer versus a wide receiver transfer, and then the Kilselman from last year and Oots from last year as kind of those blocking guys. I look at that and I try to figure out exactly where Saban's going to go. Curtis Lewis said Prentice also fell off. I agree Prentice fell off, but I wonder how much of Prentice, and that's a great point, I wonder how much of Prentice falling off, X, was some of it being freshman, just freshman fatigue, man. Some guys aren't built for it yet, and it can take a toll. But I also wonder.
Think it was probably JoJo Earl coming back.
Yep.
And Isaiah Bond stepping up. So I don't necessarily think it was Prentice bad. It was just you had two other guys at the position that were playing good as well.
Well, and I don't just think playing good. I think too, that's what I was going to say to Curtis, and Curtis always points this out. Saban has this loyalty thing, and he sometimes will play guys, whether we like it, love it, or hate it, agree with it, disagree with it. When we've seen it, and all of us have probably been impacted somewhere along the line, whether we think it was him loyal to Randolph or loyal to Hurts or loyal to, but what I think happened is that those guys came back, but I also think, man, they tried so hard to justify the hype around Burton that it hurt this wide receiver room. I think they kept trying to make him a number one, like we've got in all of our other transfers, that it hurt the team. That's one thing. And Curtis, I didn't finish the tight end room. He said Danny Lewis is in that tight end room. Danny Lewis is in that tight end room. Nye Black is in that room. Our tight end room has the potential to give us some of what we've seen from the Georgia Bulldogs tight end room. Potential. Closing thoughts, X.
Big win by Alabama last night to wrap up the SEC championship. And, hey, football's right around the corner. Can't wait for it.
All right. Hey, we'll be back on tomorrow for a free-for-all Friday. I love the interaction from the phone lines to the chat to you guys having your own conversations out there. We're going to ban Blind Squirrel Sports on Thursdays because he's a Georgia guy taking our recruiting news and posting it in Kirby's Twitter feed. So we're going to ban him there. Everyone else is always welcome each and every day. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Thanks for being a part of it. We appreciate you. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, and not your own understanding, always not him, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide out to everybody. We'll catch you on tomorrow.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
The Thursday morning, heavy rains flooded numerous areas across the Tennessee Valley of North Alabama overnight, stranding many motorists. Tornado sirens wailed across North Alabama, with one twister leaving considerable destruction in the Madison County city of Newmarket. No injuries reported. A few thunderstorms may pop up over West Alabama today, but the potential for severe weather doesn't arrive until around 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. Stay tuned to Operation Storm Watch. Click on Tuscaloosa thread for later watches and warnings. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
In a collision, easy decision. Make one call to one name. Mesrano, 206-6300.